This podcast is sponsored by Dis-Chem Living Fit, with a wide range of health products and supplements tailored to your needs. Whatever your needs are, whatever stage in your health and fitness journey you're in, Dis-Chem Living Fit has the products for you. Today I got some cycling fanatics, some experts in something that I would and have been, very interested in lately. That is Shaun-nick Bester and Tania. You kept your maiden name.
Yes, I did.
And that is, so I can't
Bulgarian.
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 Okay, cool. So essentially, we got the head coach of Bester Performance.
Yeah, definitely. I've been coaching now for the past 6.5 years. Last year I took it up quite a few notches, completing quite a few levels of studies, and went to Switzerland for 6.5 weeks. I went to Nigeria for 2 weeks. So it was quite a busy 2022.
Sure, that's fantastic. Well, let's go back to the infancy, because obviously, I assume, we know that you grew up in a very sports-related family, very endurance-based family. So, how was that growing up with your dad and obviously being introduced into, was it primarily running initially or was it cycling as well?
I never really liked running at all. I did one duathlon once and one triathlon. But it definitely wasn't for me. I like the speed. I like the adrenaline. So for the biggest majority of my career, I was actually a professional road cyclist, based in Europe, and that's where I met my wife Tania.
Okay, and you are from? Because obviously,
I'm from Spain.
From Spain,
Yes.
People can hear the accent.
Yes.
So you met there, and then you moved here.
After I finished my studies, I'm a nurse. So after I finished, I decided to just try another country, and
Awesome.
I've been loving it.
No, South Africa is a beautiful place, and actually, thank you, Socks Factory, for some Jesster Studios customized socks. And I'm actually going to Bergen-Busch next weekend, so I'm definitely going to be wearing these. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
I'm actually wearing last year's Bergen-Busch shirt underneath here. So, road cycling, obviously, that was your profession essentially, but obviously you did still do mountain biking, but now with the team and the Best Performance team, what I've seen is predominantly mountain biking.
Yeah. So after returning from Europe at the end of 2017, I decided to try something new. I was just a bit over all of the politics on the road. Due to the fact that I was never a peer sprinter nor a peer climber, I always was used as a domestique. And I also wanted to get my chance to win races. So I thought when I came back from Europe, let me try my hand at mountain biking again. Because I was quite a successful under 16 and junior mountain biker, where I went to a lot of the SA cross-country cups, placed second and third there on many of them, and also went to a World Cross-Country Cup in Pietermaritzburg, where I placed 11th.
And it's beautiful to see, the cross-country racing in South Africa, especially in, Maritzburg there. And, you see the events overseas, but then you compare it to what we have in Maritzburg, and it's just as beautiful. The course is just as nice. And it's nice to see how locally, cross-country in the world, Pietermaritzburg is very well known, for the cross-country events there.
Yeah, definitely. I think Pietermaritzburg has really created quite a few good cyclists over the years. If you look at Greg Minnaar, he's from there. And we had some good cyclists that really came from KZN back in the day when the World Cup was still presented there. And yes, it's a world-class track, and the technical features there is, like I said, on par with what they are doing, let's say at Lenzerheide or any other track out there.
So coming to South Africa and, changing from road and the politics and everything, but before that, did you have any interest or maybe aspirations of doing like a Tour de France?
Yeah, definitely. That was the whole goal of pursuing a professional road career overseas. Unfortunately, I didn't get to get into a team. So as you know, there's only 19 teams that have a set spot in the Tour de France each year, and you have to actually be in one of those teams to compete. And in those teams, you have 25 to 35 riders. Even if you are in one of those 19 teams, you still have to be handpicked to actually go there. So yeah, it's a very select group of riders that go there. And yeah, unfortunately, I didn't manage to get into one of those teams when I was still riding on the road. But yeah, I came back, like I said, did mountain biking. I love it very much. I don't think that I'll change anything of my career. I learned a lot while I was overseas. Met a lot of people and made some good friends.
And where are you now within your career? Is it primarily trying to focus on, the coaching aspect of the business, or is it also trying to, be competitive in cycling in general?
So yeah, I'm still competitive. But I'm also trying to grow my cycling business, my coaching business. So underneath Bester Performance, we have an umbrella of projects that I run, which is the cycling coaching. I have the professional cycling club. I also plan some corporate events. And yeah, we have a variety of things that we... And the professional mountain bike team, of course.
Okay. And Tania, before you came to South Africa, did you cycle? Did you do any of that kind of stuff?
No, nothing.
So
no, I was actually, I didn't do any sport, no.
Okay.
And even when we met, I didn't, the very first 4 years, nothing. Then we came to South Africa, I started running because of my dad-in-law. Then I was running quite often and then start gymming. And when he went back to Spain, to Portugal for like that big jump that he wanted to do, I started gymming because I was really very lonely. I was working in Nike, but it was very lonely, so I started gymming, and then I started competing in fitness, and I did it for 3.5 years. And when I came back to South Africa, before I fell pregnant, I was starting mountain biking, which I find out that my skills were very good. And I had a bit of a talent for it. Well, then I got pregnant, and after the pregnancy, I actually started more focus, and until now.
Okay, nice. And that's also nice having that bodybuilding background and competing and the fitness and the tying into, cycling, because that's essentially how I started with competing as well, and then moving into endurance space while still trying to maintain as much muscle as possible. So now with your professional cycling team, how many athletes do you have at a professional level now under the Bester Performance banner?
So we're only 4 at the moment. So it's myself, Steph Walters, Daniel Kotze, and then Tania also forms part of the team.
I'm the question mark.
But she focuses more on cross country because she doesn't have that much time to actually train. So it suits her characteristics. And like she said, her skills are quite good. She's quite explosive. She likes the short stuff. And you don't need that much time to actually train for a cross-country race. So last year she actually won, I think it was 3 of the Gauteng provincial cross-country cups. So yeah, it just
and
stands to show.
And I came third in Spain. When I went to visit my family, I did a cross-country there.
She did a provincial cross-country cup in Spain also. And like she said, she placed third there.
With the Spanish champ. Was she the Spanish champ?
No.
Galician champ. But it was very strong. She almost loved me. I mean, yeah. But coming back to that point of Pietermaritzburg trials and how the difference between, because I rode cross-country overseas, South Africa for me is still, I will say, I never rode in Switzerland or anything like that, but what I rode in Spain, for example, is South Africa is still in a better level. Yeah. Like tracks and stuff.
Yeah, we're very blessed with the trails that we have. In Johannesburg, it's a little bit more different. You guys are obviously from Pretoria. So where in Pretoria do you guys mainly ride and train?
So we used to ride in Buffelsdrift. That place was amazing. The trails there was really good. You had such a big variety. You could do enduro lines. You can do cross-country type riding. You can do just open gravel roads. Unfortunately, they closed down a while ago. So we, at this moment in time, we don't have many places to train. There's some short little tracks in Wonderboom area. But yeah, we basically, at this moment in time, we're doing more gravel riding on the mountain bikes than anything else.
And Bobbelspruit.
Yeah, now and then we go to Bobbelspruit, but for us, it's a bit of a track to get there. You know, it's if you ride with the bike, it's about an hour 20 from our house. If you go with the car, it's quick, but
for me, it's good because I do cross country. So
Yeah.
for me, the technical to ride there in technical is good. An hour, you do a lot of training.
Yeah, and also it's quite a lot. You can get some elevation in and everything. It's just you have to get there quite early because if there's hikers and there's people in the way and runners, then you have to obviously try to avoid them. So it's obviously, as you mentioned, cycling in general is very time consuming. You know, to get the same workout from a run, you have to do almost double the amount of time. So, you know, for people that are trying to get into cycling and people that are coming to you, let's say for, you know, general purpose coaching and just, you know, trying to improve their cycling, how would you recommend, you know, someone allocates time to be able to improve their cycling while still working, you know, full-time jobs and everything?
Yeah, that's difficult. Like you say, cycling is very time consuming. It's not only the training. I mean, the getting ready for the ride is quite time consuming. You have to make sure everything is charged. Your GPS now, your gears are also electronic, so that needs to be charged. Your power meter, if you have a power meter, that needs to be charged. Bottles needs to be made. Helmets, glasses, shoes, your puncture kit. Yeah, so it is. You need to pump your tires. You need to lube the chain. So yeah, it's very time consuming. What I suggest always for people is to try and stay consistent. So instead of doing, let's say, every third day, like a 2-hour ride, try and do every day, maybe an hour. And instead of wasting time, let's say you only have an hour to train, instead of wasting time in, let's say, we're talking about a 5 or a 7 zone training structure, I would say instead of doing a zone 2 ride, rather ride zone 3. I think that generally tends to help the people who has very little time available to get some kind of fitness benefit from training short.
And we all know how expensive bikes are. Obviously, your team is, you know, kind of partnered with Titan Racing, but, you know, for people other than, you know, just going to the gym and going on a watt bike or, you know, maybe getting an indoor trainer, it is the barrier to entry for cycling is quite difficult. So, you know, what's for the average Joe, you know, with my bike is, you know, it's pretty entry level, but it's still, you know, very expensive in people's ideas of what a price is. Because, I mean, now bicycles are costing like the same as motorbikes. And, you know, even just spending, you know, 50, 60,000 Rand on a bike, you still don't have the best bike. And that's what's tough. But, you know, what do you suggest, you know, in terms of, you know, just getting a bike? Do you maybe rather don't get a bike and save for a year and a bit and then get a more expensive bike? Or do you get something relatively cheaper but it's going to give you problems? You know, what do you suggest for those type of people?
You know, that's a difficult question to answer. But what I would suggest is if you want to get into cycling, you don't know if you actually going to like it or not, make sure that the bike that you're getting is tubeless, that it has 29-inch wheels. I would suggest someone who's new to cycling also looking at a dual suspension. It helps with the descents and even the traction on the climbing. So yeah, it's difficult to say what you must look at exactly. Like you say, it's very expensive. Some of the bikes there are like 200,000+ Rand. So yeah, not everyone's able to pay that for a bike. But also look at South African brands, for example, like you mentioned, Titan Racing or Silverback or Momsen, that they much better priced than these international brands like Specialized or Giant or Track. Generally, you can get the same bike for maybe 2/3 of the price. So yeah, I'd say that would be a good option to look at.
Yeah, and it's, you know, I've got a Trek as well, and for the exact same bike, even just like comparing my trek to the exact same equivalent of a specialized, even the specialized is drastically more expensive. And I think it's also people in general, and I think it's just human nature is, you know, you don't want to be seen with you want to be seen with the one that's got the best brand, like the most well known. But also at the end of the day, those local brands are what you should support local brands because of, you know, you're fueling the economy, you're assisting in creating local businesses. The more you support a local business, the better cycling will grow in the country, the more eyes will be on cycling. So how did you guys work out that deal with like Titan Racing in terms of, you know, partnering with them?
So we've always been for supporting South African brands. Titan was just one of the brands that really came to play ball when I sent the proposal. You know, they really supported us well over the past few years, and the bikes are good. If you look at the mountain bikes, they're on par with a specialized, and weight-wise, handling is great. I've never had an issue with any of the frames. So like you say, people generally they want to buy a brand because of all of the advertising that's going on, but the South African brands nowadays, they're really good. There's a lot of R&D going into it, and that's why they have the pro riders on the bikes to help them with the development of these bikes. And like I said, I've won just as many races on the Titan than I did on the Canyon in 2020. And the difference between the two weight-wise is basically nothing. Handling is the same. I can't fault anything. So coming back to that question that you asking or actually talking about people looking at brands, I think it's the same as looking at a Levi jean, or let's say a Max jean or something. The material that they use is basically the same thing. It's just maybe the cut that's a bit different, but you can adjust that. You can adjust the geometry of the bike by changing the stem, changing your saddle's position on the seat post, tilting it, maybe adjusting suspension pressure. So yeah, you can do a lot of the things, especially on dual suspension bikes, to get the feel exactly the same as let's say a specialized or a track.
So with your skills development programs that you're running with Bester Performance, what goes into that? Do you obviously then meet with people and help them with technicalities and like riding over certain terrain?
Yeah, so I offer a variety of services, including skills training, like you're saying. So I help people from entry level to professional level with eating plans. I help them with the preparation physically, strength and conditioning plans, skills coaching. So if we look at the skills side, if you have an athlete who's just starting, we would start with very basic things. A lot of the people can't
Basic but important.
A lot of the people, like Tania says, they can't do certain things that we take for granted, riding bikes for so long. Like I've seen so many things. There's people who can't change gears. They don't know how it works. They don't know what gear they should select. They ask you these questions like, okay, what gear should I ride this climb on? I mean, that's very dependent on
you
the
think
athlete.
That's common sense.
You think that's common sense, but the people don't know. Like cornering, for example, people would corner with the wrong foot down, and then the pedal would catch on the apex of the corner, and then they would crash. So there's very basic things that people don't know that we take for granted. So yeah, we start from entry level to advanced, even enduro coaching. So yeah, anything from entry level to pro.
And where mainly would you do this technical training or the skills development? And is there a way for people to like join a group?
Yeah, it depends. I do it anywhere. So I'm based in Gauteng, Pretoria actually. If someone from Joburg asks me to come and give them skills training, I come here to either a place like Cradle Moon, or we go to Taba or wherever. It's basically whatever is most comfortable for them. and obviously the type of training that they need. We also offer road cycling tactics and skill sessions. I also offer aerodynamic CDA testing, so that's basically a surface area, how you test that, so you can utilize that for triathletes, people who specialize on track cycling, or even time trial training for elite cyclists or very avid category racers.
Okay. If we look at cycling in winter, it's especially, leaving early mornings, it's very difficult to cycle in winter for people that maybe, haven't been cycling for long. Whereas if you've got a team, you've got a community together, obviously it makes it a bit easier. I assume obviously you have team rides or, certain days where you meet up with your athletes and you go ride together to make it, when it is more difficult, a bit easier.
Yeah, definitely. We have weekly club rides. So yeah, that makes it much easier. If it's cold in the mornings, there's at least going to be one or two people who's going to join you for a ride. Like you say, it's difficult to go out in the cold or in the dark on your own and try and stay motivated like that, even if there's, or let's say, because there's maybe little racing happening in winter. So yeah, when there's racing happening, I think it's a bit different. You enter for an event like Bergenbush that you were talking about, and you have to be there and you have to wake up early and you have to complete this event. So that makes it easy. But preparing for events that's maybe months later is difficult over the weekends or in the mornings during the week to actually prepare and stay motivated. So yeah, I'd say group rides is a good thing. Indoor trainers are great for winter time. You can train at night whenever you get back from the office, or you can actually get a short ride in before you go to work. But yeah, I see lots of the athletes that I coach, they're full-time jobs. So I see many times the notifications come through maybe at 4:30 in the morning that they finished training already. I know I have two athletes that actually train in the middle of the night. They're two police officers. So their schedules are so difficult to manage. They train maybe at 2 o'clock in the morning, 2 to 3, or sometimes 1 to 2. It just shows you the kind of dedication that the people have to actually get some kind of fitness benefit and stay healthy.
And, what do you think goes into, making those decisions, as a coach, and how do you encourage people to, like those police officers, to do those, training sessions when, you're tired, you've had a long day, but you still need to do it? How do you get people to get to that point?
Yeah, if you have a specific case like that, I would say try and understand the situation. If someone's training at 1 o'clock at night every day, you can't push them to do it, what they need to do. They need to buy into the idea of what we are trying to accomplish, and then trying to keep the sessions as effective and short as possible. So yeah, I think that's the way to do it.
And you personally, or both of you can start. What's your training schedule like?
The last few months has been up and down. I've been training non-stop, but it's just been, I couldn't figure out when I have to train in the mornings, in the afternoons, in the middle of the day. It's just been a bit hectic with lots of things happening at the same time. But yeah, when I was full-time pro, it was easy. You don't need to work, so you can just wake up, have breakfast, go and ride at 9 to 2 maybe, and then have lunch and go and sleep. But yeah, if you're working full time, it's difficult. Tania can tell you a bit more about that. She recently moved over to the socks factory, and time is now a bit more limited than before, so she can tell you a bit more about that.
Yeah, for me, it's more difficult. Like, for example, with Shaun, he always rides in the morning. He doesn't like to ride in the afternoons because it can be skipped. With me, because of my daughter, I have to drop her at school, and then I can ride an hour on the indoor trainer. So he will specify the training for that hour, but that hours will be intense. If not in the afternoon, whenever I have time, if my daughter stays a bit longer in the school, or he takes her to the park or whatever, that I have that hour. But it's not super consistent for me. Like, having a full-time job is not I used to not I used to have a full-time job, but I used to manage my own hours very well. So I could train whenever I wanted, not as a professional level, but I could ride whenever. Now it's just whenever I have the time and sometimes the power, obviously, with it is difficult to just stay motivated. And well, he's a very good coach in a way of he really motivates you, especially with me. Obviously I'm the wife, but he will tell me you have to do this because you have this goal, and he will remind me why do I have to train. But and he does it with all of his athletes. Obviously, whoever wants to make excuses to don't train, he will try for a certain time, and then it will be finished. Like, okay, if you don't want to train, it's up to you. But yeah, I get the motivation for obviously to see my body how it is. Like I do it for a goal of a race, but also because if I don't train, I see my body changing immediately. And for me, cycling, it is. I mean, with the gym and when I was prepping for a stage and stuff, it was a different situation. But now with the cycling, I burn so much calories with only that hour of training that I can eat much more. I can enjoy my lifestyle much more, only training that 40 minutes. So I get the motivation with that. But it's difficult to manage, especially if you have kids but you have to think of what you want to achieve with that training. He always tells me, not only with the cycling, but he always tells me just go and walk and you just do that training session. So if I get very late at night, not at night, but late, I will just maybe go for a walk for 2-3 kilometers is something. So then the day after I will feel like, okay, today I have to ride. Today I'm going to make the time to. So you always make the time to do something. No matter what, yeah.
Yeah, I guess you either make time or you make excuses, and only one of the two are going to get you where you want to go. And it's difficult because, you see firsthand with your wife essentially what majority of your clients experience. You obviously own your own business, so as you say, like if you need to ride midday you can, because you can control your schedule a bit more easier. But 90%, probably 99% of the population have those full-time jobs, or have those jobs that they have someone telling them what hours they need to be at the office. And it's difficult, and we've all seen it firsthand where everyone's got the same 24 hours in a day. Everyone has the same amount of time. Yes, maybe some people have different responsibilities and different, things that they need to allocate that time to. But at the end of the day, we all have the same 24 hours. And if you're deciding to go watch an hour of Netflix while you're just sitting on the couch, that's an hour that you could have been doing something else. And then yes, people say, you know what, I didn't get to relax. And I'm sure you both have seen it. I've found myself being more relaxed when I am cycling, when I'm running, when I'm training, because I feel afterwards those endorphins, I feel a far better response from that than sitting on the couch and just watching something on TV.
And your quality of sleeping as well. I mean, if you train, if you just have that 20 minutes or 30 minutes riding or going for a jog or just going to the gym, that 30 minutes is going to make your body feels so much better. When you go to sleep at night, you will feel like you have to sleep. When you are just sitting in the couch, I mean, it happens with everybody who doesn't train, that they are just, unfortunately, they have the whole day busy, and then they don't have a trainer, for example, in winter, and they cannot ride because it's too dark. That people, they become, like, how can I say, what is the word?
You kind of just get complacent, and then you get stuck in that routine of not doing it.
Because, for example, with me, for 2 weeks I couldn't ride. I did make excuses in my head, like maybe my daughter was sick or whatever, and I was really working very hard, and I made myself excuses that no, I'm too tired to ride, and I don't want to ride at 6 o'clock at night in the trainer, and my sleep quality was worst. I didn't rest. My body was sore in a way that not of training, but like uncomfortable sore. Pick up weight. my skin, everything was just bad. But the sleeping quality, it was so bad. Like you wake up tired. You wake up like someone just rode over you, but you didn't train anything. You didn't spend time burning calories or anything. So my point is that when you don't do stuff, when you don't train, your body becomes worse. Meaning like your sleep quality, everything is just worst.
And you mentioned, how if you're not able to go cycle, you just go for a 2-3 kilometer walk. And I think that's important, because just by doing something, you're doing something more than what you would be doing if you did nothing. And essentially, if you spend 30 minutes on a trainer, it's better than doing no minutes on the trainer. If you do, if you want to watch that series and you're on a trainer, I mean, when I go to the gym and like do a watt bike session, I still watch series on my phone, because at the end of the day, I can watch series whatever I want to watch. I can listen to a podcast, or I can do whatever, and I can still train.
Yeah,
and you can still allocate time to physically seeing improvements, and then having that relaxing of watching series or whatever.
Yeah, and I think watching something while you are on the trainer, it just makes the time pass quite quickly. I remember when I was riding in Europe, the weather was horrible for most of the year in preparation for the season. And lots of the time I spent like 4.5 hours on the trainer.
So and that's mind-numbing, eh?
Yeah, it was hectic, but there was nothing else I could do. Otherwise, I'd ride in the rain the whole day, in the cold, and be sick the whole time. Certain things you have to do when you have to do it, and making it easier by doing something like watching your favorite series while on the trainer, that can help. Can definitely help.
Yeah, because before, it was 7-8 years ago. Obviously, the internet was not like now, and the trainers, they were not smart trainers. They were like aluminium things. And when he used to ride for 5 hours, where we live in Spain, it's in the north, and it's like very bad weather. So most of the time, like maybe 9 months of the year, it will be like a proper grey day, raining, cold. And when you have to train so hard, especially him, you get sick very often because you get cold because you're wet. So I remember it was so difficult for him to do like a 5-hour ride on the trainer, that obviously you don't have a computer, because in that time there were no that technology. There were not Netflix.
You can only watch shows on television.
Yeah. Yes,
basically.
because
and there was no real Swift.
Yeah, there was no Swift.
It was very small.
You know, we were in that time of the BlackBerry and the Mixed. There was no WhatsApp. There was no. I don't even think it was Facebook by then. By that time, like proper, like now that you connect with people and you watch stories, and it was very difficult. Like your head had to be very strong, and that is why I started gymming and not cycling, because for me, my head is not strong enough to suffer for 5 hours pedaling and not seeing anything and just watching the couch because you know what, like, it was horrible.
How do you go about building that mindset and that resilience to be able to do those long hours in a relatively boring environment indoors?
Yeah, you see, I think that is very difficult if you don't have a set goal in mind. I always had a set goal in mind, like you asked earlier, to get to the Tour de France. But from the beginning, when I signed my professional contract in Europe, I told Tania I'm going to give myself 2 years to get to that level. If I don't get there in 2 years, it's over and we come back. I'm not going to waste my time anymore, because you see lots of the times these new pros, they get to Europe and they don't get to where they need to be in a certain time, and they keep on trying, and then it's 10 years later and they're still in the same position, getting the minimum entry-level salary for those teams. And it's not enough to just go forward in life. So I've always been very ambitious, and I always had time periods when I have to do something. If it doesn't happen, I move on. So since I signed my pro contract, I gave myself 2 years to get into a World Tour team, which then can compete at the Tour de France level. It didn't happen. I came back and tried something else. So yeah, that was always in the back of my mind. Keep on working for what I want to try and achieve. And if you keep on thinking, if things get hard and the training gets difficult and the circumstances stay difficult, like raining for days and weeks without stopping, I think that's the only thing that can keep you going, is having a proper goal in mind and really working to try and achieve that. But that being said, after all of that effort put in, it does make things now a bit more, how can I say, easy for me to stay consistent. But it also kind of limits my mental capacity, because I was focused for so long, so dedicated, so super focused on one goal. It's easy to stay consistent, but to really go deep and push that extra mile, I think that kind of got blunted a bit over the past few years.
And obviously, moving back here after the professional road cycling stint, what made you go more and focus more towards mountain biking?
Like I said, I wanted to just try something different.
You were obviously still doing mountain biking while you were training, professionally as a road cyclist.
No, I actually didn't. No. So I was basically on the road for 10 years, and I specifically trained road only. I think I did maybe 5 or 6 mountain bike sessions over the 10 years I was riding pro on the road. Maybe 2 races or 3 races. I'll do maybe like 1 mountain bike session and then a race the weekend. But yeah, since I came back from Europe, now it's only
he
mountain
didn't
biking.
ride anything that was not a road bike. He was not even walking, because when he was a pro in Europe, like, you train so hard, and he will not even walk to town to buy groceries or bread. Like, he was like, we never had a chance of going to ski or do different sports. Like, when we come here in December for holidays, we have a house in Plett, and we have friends who has boats, and we went to ski with the boats and stuff. And he never. It's like, it's too dangerous, because he can fall and then he can injure. So with the mountain bike, it was that type of, I wouldn't say excuse, but that he never wanted to do something else that was not road, because he can fall and he can maybe break something, and then
I think that's
it was
the
a
nature.
problem.
It's the nature of a professional athlete. I've got a friend who plays for Scotland rugby team, and they went skiing in December, and in a contract it says, well, you're not allowed to.
Exactly.
If you injure yourself,
You're out.
then you're out. You breached your contract.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was always in the back of my mind. So
Still now.
yeah. I mean, if you've worked so hard for so many years and you've been so dedicated, I think it's difficult to get that mindset out of you. Even though you want to, you're still putting in the effort. Even though it's not maybe 5 hours on your trainer. There's still a certain level of effort going into accomplishing some kind of goal. So for me, doing something that's high risk, that I'm not used to, it is difficult to get that into my mind that I have to do that, even though it's very enjoyable.
Like motorbikes. I've been trying to push him to get a motorbike to just go and do enduro. I like technical and I like rocks and stuff. So it's calling me a lot, the motorbike. And I've been telling him, please, let's go and get the motorbike and just go and do some enduro riding. He's like, no, there is no ways. Even though that he wants to, because he does.
Yeah, I think it's not far off mountain biking and what I do now, but it's just something I'm not used to. I like I say, it's difficult to get that out of your mindset if you've always worked for some goal, and you've always had that in the back of your mind that any high risk activities, it can get you out of sponsorships. It's difficult to just switch that off and say, okay, let's do it.
No, I completely understand. So I actually, when I was still competing, I once did an event. It was a cycling charity event, and there was actually a bunch of best performance athletes that cycled there.
Okay.
I can't tell you who it was exactly, but I remember not wanting to do the cycling event. I mean, it was like a 2-hour ride. So it wasn't like it was something hectic. But I thought, I can't risk doing that amount of cardio when I'm trying to compete and I'm trying to preserve as much muscle as possible. And then I still ended up doing it and I loved it. But, in our minds, when you're so set in a certain routine and structure and, orientated towards a particular thing, anything that kind of goes against that, it's kind of, is that worth putting myself in that position for the amount of benefit it would bring? And I think as humans, we kind of enjoy what we're comfortable to, and we enjoy certain things and aspects of our life that, we have control over. And now, going riding on a motorbike, you are going to, at least initially, have a lot less control than what you do on a mountain bike. So you obviously, when you're professional, doing very little mountain biking, now focusing on mountain biking, do you still implement a lot of road cycling?
I would say that I would like to do more. I haven't done much road cycling, but the thing is, it's so dangerous once again. Here in South Africa to ride on the road. Our roads aren't actually made for cycling on. We don't have shoulders. We have a lot of potholes. The traffic, if there's traffic, they use the yellow lane to overpass other cars. So I don't do much road cycling at the moment. I like I say, I love road riding. I would like to do more, but it's just too dangerous, I think.
Yeah, no, it is. But I mean, also mountain biking, if you, like, as you say, it takes, let's say, an hour and a half to get to Wolferspree to go cycle there while you're riding. You need to go on our roads. Unfortunately, for me, my dad and I cycle out in the cradle a lot. We need to get to the cradle. So, that 30 minutes of cycling to the cradle, obviously there's a lot of footpaths and that kind of stuff that we can go on, but you still need to go on certain main roads. And with running as well, I'm doing the same thing. I mean, there's tons of times where I've had to jump out of the way because a taxi's coming on that yellow lane. So it's unfortunate that we do have that in our country, and it does, I think, limit a lot of people's want to go and start cycling.
Yeah, definitely. But like I say, then that's why I've been on the mountain bike. Even though I use the road to ride on with my mountain bike, whenever there's like taxis or people.
Makes it easier to get out the way.
You can just go onto the sidewalk without crashing. You can just bunny hop a sidewalk or actually
if
ride
you know
on
how
a
to
single
bunny
track.
hop. That is another thing.
Yeah, it's maybe a skill to learn. But
that's probably the first skill you need to teach someone if they join your team is just, learn how to bunny hop a curb or something to get out the way.
Well, you know what? My skills is quite good, but I still don't know how to bunny hop. Like the other day, I broke a rim because of the bunny hop. So yeah, it is difficult to bunny hop, eh?
Yeah.
Especially if you're a woman.
What would you say is the most important skill in general for mountain? You mentioned going around corner with the wrong pedal down. What would you say is like the primary thing that people should know when cycling?
I would say if you get past the initial basic skills like cornering, gearing.
Let's say you know how to do those things.
Okay, then I would say bunny hopping or actually lifting the front wheel. That's the most important. Just lifting the front wheel, because as soon as you lift your front wheel, the back wheel, 90% of the time it will go over the obstacle. Even though, like Tania said, she broke a rim or whatever, but you'll still get over the obstacle. But just lifting your front wheel, I think that's the first basic thing you need to learn after braking, gearing, and cornering.
So, if people want to, be coached by you. You did mention the nutrition aspect, the strength and conditioning. Do you offer that for non-cyclists? What type of people do you work with essentially, and if they want to reach out with you, how?
I predominantly work with cyclists, but I also do a lot of altitude training, and I specialize in that. And I actually help the Nedbank athletes with their preparation in altitude by assisting the coach with the protocol that they have to use. I think they were very successful. I think the men was the 4 comrades. They came the first 5, I think.
The
and then
Nedbank team is always super strong in comrades.
Yeah. And then the lady, I think it was Adele, she placed second. Gerda had an amazing run, obviously breaking the record. And then also for the world 50-kilometer record attempt that was also broken in PE a few months ago. I also helped with that protocol of altitude training. I don't just work with cyclists. I do specific things that I have quite a big basis of knowledge of, like altitude training. I've also assisted Shaun-nick Bester a little bit a while ago, but then she did her own thing again before Comrades. But yeah, strength training, basically I focus on cyclists. The nutrition, anyone who wants to basically lose weight, we can help them. But I focus a bit more on performance specific nutrition plans.
Okay. And if anyone wants to get some socks, you guys don't only do customized socks, you obviously sell general socks.
Yes.
So they can obviously just follow I'm going to put, Best Performance social media pages in the description and everything. So how can people, on the website, are they able to submit designs?
Yes, on the website they can see everything. We have a big variety of socks. And then, and then with the custom is a different website, but it's the same. Otherwise, you can contact me.
Everything on the
whatever.
website.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I want to thank you so much for coming on. It's been a real pleasure, and hopefully we've got some people interested in cycling, or at least interested in being a bit more active.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Awesome.
Okay,
Cheers,
have a nice
guys.
day.
Bye. This podcast is sponsored by Dis-Chem Living Fit, with a wide range of health products and supplements tailored to your needs. Whatever your needs are, whatever stage in your health and fitness journey you're in, Dis-Chem Living Fit has the products for you.